There's no other way to put this. The Dunwich Horror is one of the greatest horror stories ever written. And in my opinion, it's Lovecraft's best story as well. It's got everything: cosmic dread, body horror, psychological torment, and some truly disturbing imagery. When I first read it, I was blown away by how disturbing it was, and I'm still kind of freaked out about it now just thinking about it. So let's discuss what makes the Dunwich Horror so terrifying. First of all, the protagonist, Wilbur Whately, is perhaps the most disturbing character that Lovecraft ever wrote. He's disgusting and vile, yet at the same time pitiable and even sympathetic. Wilbur is an outcast who grew up in Dunwich, Massachusetts. His father had gone insane after performing forbidden rituals to summon an entity from another dimension, and his mother died giving birth to him. As a result, Wilbur is shunned by the townspeople who fear he might be the Antichrist. As a child, he develops a deep hatred for the town and its people, and it seems like they have a good reason to fear him. When we meet Wilbur as an adult, he's a reclusive and grotesque man with a twisted, misshapen body. People say he looks like a toad or frog, and his eyes are bulging and glistening. He lives in a ramshackle house with his equally monstrous father, and they perform animal sacrifices and engage in other unsavory activities. You can probably imagine how messed up their house is just from that. Now, there's something really important to note here. Lovecraft was a firm believer in the scientific racism that was popular during his time, and he believed that different races had different, quote, mental capacities. He also subscribed to the belief that mental illness could be hereditary. These beliefs were extremely common during Lovecraft's lifetime and were actually used to justify things like segregation and even genocide. However, today, these ideas are widely discredited, and it's clear that Lovecraft's views were not only wrong but harmful. In the Dunwich Horror, Lovecraft uses racist language and tropes to paint Wilbur and his father as innately evil. While reading the story, it's important to keep this in mind and recognize the story for what it is, a product of its time. But don't mistake that for Lovecraft's views being anything other than vile and disgusting. Anyway, all that to say, despite Wilbur's repulsive appearance and behavior, we do feel a sense of sympathy for him because he's such an outcast. Ultimately, he just wants to be accepted by society, and he thinks he can achieve that by proving that he's descended from the devil. The true horror of the Dunwich Horror comes when Wilbur's father dies, and Wilbur begins to take over his role as the town's scapegoat. Here's where things get really disturbing. After his father's death, Wilbur becomes increasingly bold in his actions and even forms a cult with the goal of summoning an ancient deity from another dimension. The townspeople become more and more afraid of him, and eventually they drive him out of Dunwich. Now, I should mention that Lovecraft never explicitly described Wilbur as having any special powers or abilities. Despite this, Wilbur seems to be able to influence the minds of others and make them do his bidding. There's a scene when he is able to recruit followers for his cult and when he torments Drive Armitage. Throughout the story, it is unclear whether Wilbur has any actual power or if the townspeople are simply so superstitious that they believe he does. Either way, the story implies that Wilbur is a dangerous and manipulative individual who can exploit people's fears and weaknesses for his own benefit. Another thing that makes the Dunwich horror so horrifying is the creature that Wilbur wants to summon. Lovecraft describes this entity as, quote, an amorphous blob of protoplasm. That may not sound particularly threatening, but the story makes it clear that this creature is immensely powerful and evil. Lovecraft emphasizes the creature's alienness and its complete lack of empathy or compassion for humans. This is seen in the creature as Blaze's reaction to the sacrifice of a human life and its willingness to devour anyone who gets in its way. The creature is beyond our understanding, and its motives and goals are completely alien to us. All we know is that it's incredibly dangerous and destructive. As the story progresses, Wilbur's cult begins to carry out increasingly disturbing rituals in an abandoned quarry outside of town. They sacrifice animals and even a human, and they use blood magic to try and open a portal to the creature's dimension. Eventually, the local minister, Henry Pillsbury, confronts the cultists, but he has captured and taken to the quarry where he is forced to watch them perform their rituals. During this time, Wilbur takes great pleasure in tormenting the minister and making him suffer. He knows that he's hated by the townspeople, and he uses this to his advantage, reveling in the fear and disgust that he inspires in them. Eventually, Wilbur's plan comes to fruition, and the portal opens, and the creature is able to enter our dimension. Chaos ensues, and the town is plunged into darkness as the creature wreaks havoc. In the end, the creature is driven back to its own dimension, but not before causing immense destruction and death. The story ends with the people of Dunwich trying to pick up the pieces and rebuild their lives, but they're forever changed by the horrors they've experienced. One of the things that makes the Dunwich horror so effective is the way Lovecraft builds suspense throughout the story. He slowly reveals the details of Wilbur's plan and the true nature of the creature he is summoning, keeping the reader on edge until the very end. The story is told from the perspective of an unnamed narrator who lives in the nearby town of Arkham. The narrator is a respected member of society, and he is called upon to help investigate the strange happenings in Dunwich. As the story unfolds, we see the effects of Wilbur's magic and the growing influence of the creature from another dimension. The suspense builds as the creature draws closer to our world, and the people of Dunwich become increasingly desperate. The climax of the story is truly terrifying as the creature is unleashed and the town is plunged into chaos. The image of the creature, a shapeless blob of protoplasm, is both disturbing and unforgettable. It's a creature that defies our understanding and whose motives are completely alien to us. This sense of cosmic dread is one of the things that sets Lovecraft's work apart from other horror writers of his time. He wasn't interested in writing about ghosts or vampires or other supernatural creatures that had already been explored by other authors. Instead, he wanted to tap into a more primal fear, the fear of the unknown, the fear of what might be lurking in the dark corners of the universe, beyond our understanding and beyond our control. The Dunwich Horror was first published in 1929 in a pulp magazine called Weird Tales. It was one of Lovecraft's most popular stories during his lifetime, and it continues to be one of his most celebrated works today. The story has been adapted numerous times for film, television, and radio. One of the most notable adaptations is the 1970 Roger Corman film, The Dunwich Horror, which was produced by Ape. The film stars Dean Stockwell as Wilbur Whately and is considered to be one of the best adaptations of Lovecraft's work. If you haven't read the Dunwich Horror, I highly recommend it. Just be prepared to be disturbed. If you've seen any of the film adaptations, I'd love to hear your thoughts on them in the comments. Also, please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.